Hi, can you hear me? Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. I gotta unmute you, I think. There you go. I unmuted you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Do I have to unmute or mute or anything?
I think how I had it set up was that when everybody comes in, they're automatically muted. So now you're unmuted. If you need to mute yourself,
Just in the corner.
I think you do it in the corner. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to come to the Germantown office to do it because our internet was being crappy all day. So, yikes.
Did a lot of people register?
I had like I want to say 14 people register. But I have a feeling more people might join because they didn't realize they had to register. I don't know. We'll see.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it's okay for the Zoom. Usually we have more than 20 people in attendance when it's live.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Hi, Amy and Brian. Oh yeah, I think I have it muted.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I think I have everyone automatically muted coming in, so you can just unmute yourself if you have a question. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, good. Awesome.
How are things going for you?
They're going. School is tough. We had that hailstorm yesterday hit us really hard, so our whole subdivision's internet went out.
Oh no.
So today, midday, we got it done. So the kids had to catch up with schoolwork halfway through the day. And then when I left just now from the house, the internet kept going in and out. So I was like, I can't do it from my house, otherwise it wasn't reliable. So I ran to the Germantown office quick.
Sure. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. Julia, just so you know, you're muted. You can unmute yourself.
Here we go.
Hi. Hello.
So how much, I just saw I have the news next to me, that they said 3 inch size, softball size hail in Cedar, or baseball size hail in Cedarburg. And he said, oh, there'll be a lot of roofs now needing to be replaced.
It was insane. Yeah, we had Jenny's husband come out to our subdivision today. He took a look at our roof and it wasn't too bad.
Oh, was it? Okay, well, that's good.
We sent them to a few of our clients' houses around the area. Our cars got dinged up pretty well though, so we had to call insurance today and we have to take them in to get checked out, get a quote.
Lowell has a really good place. It's not far from here. They did, I want to say it's Dent Doctor. Did a really nice job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, they were on Facebook celebrating that it was hailing outside because they knew their business was.
You should have saw our subdivision today. How many siding and roofing people, how many trucks came through our subdivision today just trying to get business? And then the police ended up driving through a couple times because I think a couple of the neighbors called the police that they were soliciting.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it was insane. We're gonna obviously just hang on for a while here till most people get on. We're a little early and that's okay.
So I showed houses today wearing masks. It was really kind of interesting because, having a mask on, trying to breathe, trying to talk, it sucks.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Ugh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cody, how is your husband doing?
Well, tomorrow it'll be a full week.
Okay.
He's been quarantined upstairs, so.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Does he have it?
Well, so he's been on the line with the doctor a few times and he was pre-screened to go take the test, but the results are 10 days out and that's minimum.
Yeah.
But he works at Amazon, so they're kind of going back and forth on whether to test or not. So all signs point to yes, but like the doctor said, even if it came back, they're going to send him home.
Right.
Continue to quarantine and continue to do what we're going to do. So
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, but he's a weekend, right?
The weekend, and it's almost like kind of going in 3-day cycles, I would say.
Okay.
It's like it sort of ramps up, and that third day, third night is really, really rough. Like his fever just is spiking and he can't sleep and the chills and everything. And then it kind of gets better and he's like, okay, I think I'm on the mend. And it's almost like we're tracking it in that third day again. So
on CNN last night, I've been watching Chris Como. He's
Yeah.
fascinating to watch because he obviously is dealing with it. And he had a couple of people on yesterday, and it's like a 14 to 15 day run. And one of the things I was like really surprised about was he said, you have to fight through the fever, and you have to make sure you're hydrated and Tylenol, which I'm sure you guys are doing. But he said, a physician called him and said, start doing your arms over your head to really, and then hold your breath to build up your lung capacity.
Okay.
So, he said, hold his breath for 10 seconds. And he's like, I can't do it. It really hurts. And he goes, I don't care. Do it.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I'm like, and his point was fascinating. Normally he said with a fever, you want to curl up in a ball and just be like, you don't want to live, so to speak. But he's like, you've got to get up, you got to hydrate, you got to walk it off, and you got to keep yourself. Yeah. And I was like, wow, you normally want to just lay down.
Yeah.
Right, and rest. And
Yeah.
we have quite the system. He's got like a mini cooler up there, and we by the door, and then we leave. And we've been FaceTiming. It was our daughter's birthday on Sunday, so we FaceTimed her opening her present. We did, our friends and family did like a parade.
Yeah.
And so our bedroom faces the front yard, so he looked out the window.
Oh.
So it's been kind of like sad, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, if it is 2 weeks in a month, 2 weeks won't seem that bad. So it's like just kind of trying to keep my head down and keep leaching.
Yeah. Well, you take care of him.
Yeah.
It sounds like you are.
I'm not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. Nurse, maybe, but not a stay-at-home school teacher. Oh, Lord.
Tina, you'll have to unmute yourself because this was set up that when anyone new came on, they have to unmute themselves to talk.
Oh.
And since you're a panelist, you can unmute yourself. I see you, Howard, and Al. I know, Al, you and I had talked in the past, and you know Kim Ragney. So if you guys want to ask any questions throughout, you guys can either do it in the chat or unmute yourselves. I just wanted to let you know people are going to start to continue to log on over the next few minutes, so we're going to give some people some time to get on. How you doing, Tina?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh my gosh, you dressed up.
I know. I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like put some makeup on. I'm gonna do my hair. Like,
You look beautiful.
thank you. I walked downstairs and my kids are like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Just to the office."
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have sweatpants on though?
I do. That's so funny. I do. And flip flops.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I said it, but it's very true. It's like the COVID mullet look. It's like we're very professional on the top and like party on the bottom.
That's what I said. I was like, business on the top, party on the bottom. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
I had to come into the Germantown office, so I had to be fully dressed to walk in here, just in case anyone else came in.
Oh, why'd you have to go to Germantown?
Because our internet's not doing well today, and I was afraid that it would go out like while I was in the middle of this, and then
Sure.
so.
Sure. Yeah, I know. We've been having some issues too.
That's an impressive office, Jen. They have done some really nice things to that office.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
I
I was
love
there
it.
for closing, and I was, I remember it obviously when they first went in there, because I was over there a couple times, and it doesn't even look to me like the same space.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
very well done. Yeah, of course. So
I love it.
not surprised.
So I don't know if you guys, I'll keep track of the chat. I just wrote in the chat that to let everyone know that they're automatically on mute when they join, so that they can unmute if they have a question, or they can put their questions in the chat section, and then I'll do my best. Obviously, this is the first time we've done it this way, so we are going to, yeah, just bear with me. I'll keep track of the chat, and we'll just go from there. Hi, CJ. Just so you know, CJ, you're on mute. I'm in. Are you here? Are you next door? Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you. Hold on. Let's unmute you. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't hear you. Now I can hear you, CJ. What did you say? Oh, and he left. This should be fun, guys.
Julia, your background looks so pretty.
I'm sorry.
Your background looks so pretty.
Oh, thank you. This is my home office.
Oh, it looks like you should be like reading like a book to us, like a fireside chat or something.
Once upon a time, I wanted to be a real estate agent.
Yep, that's.
No.
I could write that book as well.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's days where you kind of go, oh, but it's good. It's all good. I just saw it come across the screen that Wuhan just lifted their lockdown. So
Wow.
China's coming out of their lockdown. So
That's awesome. I'm going to unmute you, Sheila, because I want to say hi. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
We haven't had a chance to meet yet, but you're Mark's wife, correct?
Hello.
Well, congratulations on passing your exam.
Thank you. I think I got in right before
You
we
did.
lockdown, so I was very excited to get it done with.
Right after you passed, they called everybody else and canceled their time slot. So
Really? Woo,
Yeah.
Goodness.
So that was awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Wasn't as bad as I thought it could be, but
Well, good. Well, at the end, if you can stick around for the last 20 minutes or so, you can give some pointers to the people that haven't started studying yet. Since I mean, I did it 4 years ago. Cody could also share some of that too, being a little bit more recent, but it would be nice for you to share what you did to study, and that'll be helpful.
okay.
I know my nephew is going to get his license in Illinois, and they're talking about trying to figure out a way for them to do it at home, but you'd be on camera, so somebody would be like watching you the whole time.
Oh,
that's
you
interesting.
could have something on the floor. You could still cheat. I mean, I don't know.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, there'd still be some ways I would think that you'd be able to, but I think they're just trying to obviously keep it moving and all that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. He called me yesterday and let me know that. So
That's so interesting because they make you like flip out your pockets when you're at the testing station, you know, like,
I had to unzip my boots.
yeah.
Yeah.
really,
Mhm.
they weren't looking for weapons. They're just looking for cheat notes. That's all. Yeah.
An extra TI 85 calendars with the notes in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's too funny.
Right.
Good. I see some other names I recognize. I'm going to unmute you, Denise, just to say hi. Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, hanging in there.
Good. Did you get the email that I sent you, I think on Sunday, with the virtual training calendar this week?
Yeah.
Have you been able to join anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have to work my schedule a little bit, so I didn't have that much notice.
No
I think I
worries.
opened my email Monday, so
Yeah.
yeah, but hopefully I will be able to later this week.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I'll keep sending them to you as we get the new schedules, and you can join whatever you'd like.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move you back. Just give it a few more minutes, then we can get started. I'm unmuting you, CJ, to say hi. Are you at your home office or are you here?
I love these virtual backgrounds. Looks like I'm always in my office.
Is that a picture of your office in the that is hilarious. was like, I swear I didn't see you walk by.
That's great. That's
Oh
great.
man, I gotta do that. That's awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. I know it's 5:37 and I want to be respectful of everyone's time here. So I'll get started. For those that are not KW yet, I'd love for you all to put in the chat, if you can find the chat, and answer a few questions for me. So the questions are, what do you do now? What do you do now? Why do you want to get into real estate? Okay, so why do you want to get into real estate? Do you have your license already? And how did you hear about this event? Okay, so I'm putting them in the chat now, just so that I can get a gauge for where you're all coming from. I'm also recording this, so it'll be easier for me to go back and take note of who was all on here and follow up with you accordingly as well. So we'll get started. Thank you all so much for being here virtually. Like I said, this is the first time we're doing it this way, so this is quite the interesting last 3 weeks we've been having, and we're all just shifting, adapting, pivoting, however you want to describe it. It's been incredible to see what we've all done to adapt to this new way of life right now. So thank you also to our panelists that are joining us and sharing your time with us. When we switched this to a Zoom call versus an in-person meeting, I didn't have the luxury of switching the time. I usually do these career nights once every other month. And for the next one, I may do it just a little bit earlier in the day, like a 3 or 4 o'clock, depending. I'm really not sure. I realize that this is right in the middle of dinner time for a lot of people. But when we were all in our offices or out working, it worked really nicely because people would just come to our office for the event right after they got out of work. So that's why it was this time frame. So again, thank you for being here. I'd love to start out by just having each panelist talk about a couple things, introduce yourselves. Who are you? How long have you been in the business? And then we'll go from there and I'll start asking questions for you guys, and you guys can answer. For those of you that are muted, or if you have questions, again, you can put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask a question. So I envision this first part where I'm asking the panelists questions. I envision it being about 45 minutes or so, because I'd like to leave some Q&A for the last 10 minutes for you to ask the panelists. Then I will let them jump off if they would like to, and then I will spend about 15-20 minutes talking about what the pre-licensing phase looks like, should you be interested in moving forward. So I don't know if you, let's get started. How about we start with Tina?
So Tina Reddick, I have been in the business now since 2013, so 7 years basically. Is that all you wanted?
Sure, we'll come back to you. You're gonna ask more in-depth questions, so that works fine with me. How about you, Julia?
Hi, Julia Kellogg, and I have been in the business 5 years, basically, a few months from that. So kind of a second career for me.
Cody?
Yeah, Cody Alger. I'm new. I got licensed in October, started the boot camp or launch program in November. So just a few months for me.
Perfect. And then I'm Jen Mitchell. I have been, it'll be 4 years coming up in a couple of months here. I'm also a career changer. So again, you all are in really great company. All of us have made the change, and we're all just a great resource for you. So please, there is no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that isn't asked, right? So please feel free and feel comfortable to ask any question. So I'd like to get started, and we'll go down the line, all three of you. And then I may just have a couple of others jump in too, because I do see some people from the Keller Williams office that can definitely give some thoughts as well. But for the three panelists, I'd love for you to chime in and talk about what character traits that you think are absolutely necessary to build a successful real estate business. Whichever one of you wants to jump in, I don't care, but you guys can get started.
Okay, I'll start. I think some of the important character traits in order to have a successful career in real estate would be, you definitely have to be a self-motivator, a self-starter. You don't have a boss giving you a task list or a checklist of things that you need to do. There isn't really a set schedule of when you have to be at the office. You don't even really have to come to the office. You really have to be a self-motivator. You have to have that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think you also have to have a lot of grit. I mean, because it's, while there's many, many wins, there's also, can be shifts like one that we're in now, for instance, and periods of low and high. And I think it takes a gritty person, somebody who can see past what's going on now and into the future to have a successful career in real estate.
Yeah,
so I'll jump in after Tina. I think you also, I totally agree with everything she said. And actually, I think there are a number of traits that would make an individual successful in this career, but, also problem solver mindset. The reality is that you are managing basically from start to finish. And I think about it as project management because I came from that world in my prior life. And you've got to be creative and be able to kind of process and think through. There is no transaction is the same. And I think that was what was eye-opening to me when I got into the business. I had heard that, but I was like, oh, right. And I'm like, no, they're all different. And you really have to kind of creatively think sometimes. I hate to use the cliche out of the box, but you do to get results for your clients. And I think along with that, and I know this is going to sound kind of odd, but honesty and integrity, more so integrity. And I bring that up because when I got into the business, there are opportunities for an agent to technically do both sides of the deal. And you can do that. Or at least you can now. I don't know if that will change in the future. But I come at it from an integrity standpoint of I feel very strongly that I want to represent my client, and it's really hard for me to represent two clients in the transaction. In other words, we're representing the seller and the buyer. And so I will basically hand that other side over to another agent. And I just feel like there's some things in the business itself. Integrity and honesty play a major role, and having to be upfront with a client and not tell them what they want to hear, but tell them what they need to know, and that honesty really that's where that comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree. As a newer agent, just in the little bit of time that I've been working, I think you have to genuinely like people and want to help people and be a really good listener. And if you're a really, really good listener, you're able to take what the buyers want and sort of look at it objectively and try to find them something that is a good fit for them. And then also reading their body language. I've learned a lot just by reading people's body language when they light up, when you see them stress out, and being able to roll with the punches. So it sounds weird, but liking people and wanting to work with people. And then I keep coming up with the word shameless, and it's the worst word, but you have to kind of be okay with putting yourself out there, making fun of yourself, because you're going to make little mistakes. You're going to say wrong things, and you kind of need to be able to just like roll with it and not retreat. So as someone new to the business, that's what I would say has gotten me this far, at least so far.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I think to add to that, you're learning as you go. So I think that is such an excellent point, Cody. That that's the other thing. You can't be afraid. You're not going to know all the answers, but there's a number of agents around you that will help and mentor you and guide you through that. So even though you've taken, a lot of you, either if you haven't taken your exam or you are going to take your exam, then when you get in the business, it's a lot different than what you're studying for. So not to freak you out, but it is very different. And you've got some great training opportunities at Keller Williams, but at the same time, you also have any agent you could ask a question and they're going to stop and help you through it.
I love that.
I think it's just not making sure you're not afraid to ask questions. That's the most important thing. I know a lot of people, like I always try to explain to new agents, ask, never be afraid, because we all remember what it's like to be new. I remember my first couple transactions, and I remember just leaning on veteran agents to help me through the process.
Yeah, definitely. I know that a number of people have jumped on since we started. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a chat section of this Zoom where I did put some questions in there for you. Some of the people that dialed in are just their phone number. So especially you guys, I would love to know who is on the call. If you want to put your name in the chat, or if some of you are brave enough to show your video, we'd love to see your faces. So the next question, I want to go back, because you guys touched on it a little bit after talking about those character traits. Julia, you had mentioned having a good mentor, and you said the same thing, Tina. So can you guys talk about the importance of having a good mentor and good training and what that means to you?
Sure. First of all, one of the reasons I chose Keller Williams is because I actually had a good friend who was a Keller Williams agent, and I had heard through them like all the training and the education, and they were really, really into education, and that fit my style. Not to say that you have to know everything before you do something, but that there's a lot of opportunity with training and, again, with education. And when I first started, what was really cool is, there are agents obviously who are in the business, and really taking them out for coffee, and they're willing to do that, and picking their brain on how they got started and what did they do and what were the challenges that they had to overcome. And then at the same time, there were quite a few of us that were new together, and we bonded. And so we became this group of agents that if we had a question, we'd throw it on a chat group, and together we would kind of figure it out, and someone would do the research and get the answer. So we were all learning together. And I just, again, I think even, Keller Williams offers through the launch program, you have a mentor that you can connect with and is constantly helping you through the contract phase. That is huge. And I think, I honestly can't say, I don't know what other brokerages do that. I'm sure they have some type of buddy system or a mentor system as well. But to have someone that you can say, hey, I'm going out to show a property, I might write an offer, they're on the other end and they have your back, is to me, it was really priceless. So, sorry to like, carry my KW flag, but I just think it's really important that we come from a very strong educational stance, and I want to raise the bar in the industry. And I think the way you do that is how you handle yourself and what the knowledge you bring to the table. And the fact that all of that is offered to us, 24/7 is just, to me, priceless.
Yeah, I love that. And Julia is, just so you all know, Julia is one of our mentors. She's one of our absolutely favorite mentors. We love her. And so that is super important. So Cody, with you, we'll talk a little bit later about what this launch program looks like and what that means. But you are about to graduate this program. Tomorrow is your 5th closing. Whoop, whoop. So tell us from your standpoint what it meant to have a good mentor and what this program and this training meant for you being a new agent.
So I came from higher education where I was there for the last 5 years. So I knew my role. I was sort of the go-to for my role. And so when I left, I still want to be that. I want to be the go-to where people come and they ask questions. So having a mentor, having someone I could text or call, or in my case, there was even times I went over to my mentor's house and we sat side by side and put that offer together. That's how I learn, is by doing it, but having someone there to sort of ask questions and say, this is what I'm thinking, am I right? It allowed me to learn much quicker than if I wouldn't have had a mentor. And so it was really, really great. Also, it gave me the confidence that what I was doing on behalf of my clients was correct and accurate, and that I was going to help them win the house or get the best thing for them. So having a mentor and proper training has been crucial to me building confidence as a new agent.
That's great. And Tina, you have, out of us all on the panel, you have been in the business the longest, and you're one of our newer mentors. You're on our board of directors, if you will, for our office, which we can talk about later. What does it mean to you, especially since you came from a different brokerage? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, like you said, I was at a different brokerage, and at that brokerage, there isn't a mentorship program. So there isn't even a buddy system or anything. It's just you kind of start, and then your manager is your go-to person. And which, you know, when you're just starting off, it's great to have a manager as your go-to person, but that manager is the go-to person for every single person in the office. So for instance, at Keller Williams, we've got, you know, over 100 some agents there. That would be, you know, one manager taking care of all those agents. So it was hard to get in touch with the manager, and especially when you're out in the field late at, you know, 7, 8 o'clock, writing offers, things like that, you know, it wasn't always readily available. So now coming to KW and seeing that the program that they have in place for new agents, where you're actually just buddied up with one agent, that agent, you know, is your mentor, and they know their roles, they know their responsibilities to you to help guide you. And it's nice because you get to build this relationship with that agent, and they help lead you through the transaction, and you're not dependent on somebody who has a bunch of other people dependent on them, if that makes sense. They're more readily available to you. And they're out in the field too, working every day. That was the other thing. The managers at the other brokerage aren't selling real estate anymore. So they don't know, I mean, they know, but they're not in it. They're not in the throes of it like we are every single day, knowing what's going on out there. So the mentors now at KW can help give you advice in different aspects of the market. I think better than what other brokerages are offering right now. So as a mentor now, I mean, I have, you know, I have somebody that I'm mentoring, and we talk, you know, often. We're doing Zoom calls now. And I really love to be able to help her, because I remember being new, and I remember all the different questions that I had. And we, you know, we're forming a really great relationship, and I've only met her through this process through Zoom. So I'm really excited to meet her in person. That'll be a really nice thing. So
That's awesome.
You know, Jen, can I just add something
Yeah.
to what Tina said? Because I think Tina, you again, you hit it right on the nail. But you know, too, the thing is, when you are working with a mentor, and the great point you were making is, like, we're in a seller's market, a very competitive market, have been for a couple of years. And having a mentor, you're not just filling out that initial offer, the first offer that you're writing it with a mentor's perspective of, how can I get this individual's offer accepted? So you're learning really what's happening in the industry. And that mentor is going to, you know, teach you, okay, normally if this was not a competitive situation, here's what I do, but we're in a competitive situation. So talk to your client and see if they're willing to do A, B, C, D, E. And if they are, and here's the advantageous points of why you want to do this, you're teaching them also, you're giving them, you know, you're giving them the insights of what you do in managing your business every day. So they're getting, you know, I mean, it took me like 2 years to write a competitive offer. I wasn't quite getting it. And yet, you know, when I came to KW Southwest, it was like, wow, I was learning so much, and so much was being shared openly. And I think that's something that is so unique about our brokerage, is you will have a top performing agent share with anybody in the office what they do successfully with their clients, and it's like it's an open book, and you just don't, from, you know, again, I only have KW experience, but you don't get that from what I'm understanding. Like Tina would say, you don't get that at other brokerages. It's like we are very much an open book, and agents are an open book about how they manage their business.
So there are many different choices when you do get your license on the different types of brokerages. So Keller Williams is an option. And I can tell you a little bit about what our model looks like a little bit later. Where Tina came from, it was more of an independent firm. Tina, correct me if I'm wrong, where you guys you were there running your own business. You didn't really, there was a manager there, but you just did your own thing. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I was at 2 before I came
Okay.
to Keller Williams.
So which one were you at before? Which 2 are you at?
So I started at Shore West.
Okay.
And then went over to Realty Executives.
So that's where I was going. I didn't know I forgot you were at Shore West. My point was that we have another person that's on the Zoom here, CJ, who also came from Shore West. And, you know, and that's more of a dependent model. So again, we have different models in real estate, and perhaps between Tina and CJ, you guys can talk about it, because you have been at 2 of these different models, 2 different models than Keller Williams, right? So if you guys could explain a little bit, CJ, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself, or I maybe have to unmute you, and talk about, talk about what is the Shore West model, and why after a decade did you decide to move over to a Keller Williams model? Oh, hold on.
Did you have to rub in the decade part?
You're our veteran here. We need to, they all to know that you have a lot of knowledge to share.
Now I got more people that can make fun of me. Thanks. It's quite all right. You know, nothing wrong or anything bad to say about it. It was just the style and models. I mean, excellent for folks that are looking to get started. But then you get to a point where you just plateau because the market, you know, started getting going. So it became easier, to be straight with you. Now we have a market that's, you know, shifting, where you need guidance, you need mentorship, you need somebody or something or somebody or a group or newbies with you to hold you accountable, because I felt like an island when I was there, unfortunately, where I wanted growth, I wanted additional support, but I just couldn't find it unless I went outside, which meant I had to go spend more money on my own to get training from not only somebody. I mean, it's always good to get some training from somebody who's better than you, but like, even when I was in the corporate world, my boss would be like, "What are you trying to take my job?" Like, no, I'm trying to take your boss's job. I mean, don't take that as being arrogant or cocky, but it's saying, look, I know you're great, but I want to talk and be with the person that's even greater than you, because that's where I want to be.
Okay. All right. And so Tina, now you're experiencing a third different model in real estate. So, so from your perspective, put your hat on of when you were new, and they're all, you know, they have a lot coming at them. First, they're even deciding whether or not they want to get into real estate, right? And then, you know, that's a big decision in itself, and they're studying, and they have all these things coming at them. And then they have to decide what brokerage is right for them to get started. So now that you're at this third different model, can you concisely just explain why you moved and how this was important in your next step in growing your business?
Sure. So when I started, I was at Shore West for 3 years. I was the Rookie of the Year for Shore West. Thought I would never leave there. They have a lot of really good things there. But then after 3 years, I just realized, like, holy cow, I was giving them a lot of money. Their model is that dependent model. So they do a lot of things for you, I guess. But those things cost a lot of money. And when I started to really dial into the numbers, I thought, well, I could take care of a lot of this stuff on my own and save myself a lot of money. So I went over to Realty Executives, where that's a really independent model where you pay a lot less, but you are completely on your own, really on your own. I was in an office in Franklin. The only people who came into the office every single day were me and the receptionist. There was no training. If there was training, it was just, hey, we're going to shoot this video by some realtor in California and she's going to talk to you about real estate. Well, that doesn't apply here. I didn't feel like, because we don't have the same market. We're not, consistently selling $1 million homes. It's a little bit different. So I was always just trying to create everything on my own, and I was always trying to figure it out on my own. And so then I found out that I was spending a lot of time working like on the business and not necessarily in the business. And so I had a team over at Realty Executives, and so I was really working a lot with them and helping them build their careers as new agents. And then while I was doing that, I was realizing that I really wasn't getting everything what I needed. So I came to Keller Williams because it's a great mix of both. I really came for one reason. It was the education. It was just the unlimited amount of education that was given. I'm somebody who is a constant learner. I always want to do better, learn more, and that the training calendar that we have monthly is actually something that excites me, right? Because it's not something that, it's the repetitiveness of it as well too. So if I can't make it this week, I don't feel like I'm losing out on it, because I know that it's going to be given again. I know that we'll do it again. And it was also from the standard of, if down the road, if you're looking at building a team, it's great because it does help, with your new team members. But really, just from an education standpoint, that was my biggest reason why I moved, because I thought, if I'm going to pay a brokerage to work there, I want to make sure that I'm getting the value, or what I conceive to be valuable. And I 100% feel that I do. And I had a lot of people that have asked me, like, why have you moved, to a more expensive brokerage? Because it is a little more expensive. And I said, I wholeheartedly believe that based off the education that I've made, that I'll get there, that I'll make that money back. And last year I did that, no problem. So, and it's, due to the fact of the things that I learned. And I learned how to run my business like a business. For the first time in 6 years, I was just kind of fly by night, see in my pants, and now I actually am running it like a business and treating it like a business, like I should have been when I started back in 2013. But nobody told me that, and I wasn't taught that.
That's great. We'll definitely come back to that, because I want to talk a little bit more about that. But so earlier we talked about what character traits that you think are necessary to build a business and to be successful in real estate. And I want to shift a little bit because it's a little bit different. Well, what about the habits that a realtor needs to have to be successful? So we all have habits, or whether they're good or bad habits. And there are a few that we talk about constantly in the office, whether it's, keeping a schedule, goal setting. I would love for you all to talk about, what habits do the new agents need to adopt immediately in order to launch their career quickly? Do you want to get started, Cody, just from the new perspective?
Yeah, I think immediately is talking about it, which seems obvious, but even I was a little apprehensive at first to start telling people what I was doing, what I was thinking about doing. And I would say, even if you're still in studying or you haven't even started to study for the test, start talking to people, tell them about what you're doing. So I think just talking about real estate is a really, really important characteristic. And then being in real estate. So I took the Ignite program in January. And one of the first things Scott said was, you're not in real estate if you're not in real estate. And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. So I personally time block, but I'm not a crazy time blocker because it's not realistic for my lifestyle. But I time block getting into properties, even if it's just previewing them. And I get in them and I walk around. I've even taped myself, and then I go back and critique it. So being in real estate and talking about real estate, even if that's just asking other people what they like about their house or what if they have any renovations coming up, talking about it and kind of putting your feelers out there is really, really important for a new agent. Because if you don't talk about it, no one knows. And then a couple months pass and you don't have any business, and then that's when you start to like get nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Julia? What are, you know, the habits that you've adopted over the last 5 years that have made you successful?
You know, one of the things that so I came, and I know you're going to maybe have us talk about this a little bit later, but I came from a corporate lifestyle, so 28 years in a corporate office. And so obviously that's, you know, you're at the office at 7:30 and you're there until whatever. And I realized quickly that I would be more successful if I got a desk and I went to the office. And I can't tell you enough. I was fortunate. I started out at North Shore, and their setup happened to be that they had agents facing each other. So my desk was facing a gentleman by the name of Andy Stillman, who has been in the business for a long time. And I learned so much just listening to Andy talk to clients and listening to Andy answer questions as people were doing drive-bys and asking him certain things. So I also think that being present in the office is really, really important. We have the opportunity, you can rent a desk or you can rent an actual physical office. If you are, or you can just come in and you know, spend a couple hours there. But I think being present in an office environment really affords you the ability to learn very quickly. And it also, for me, it was a habit. And so getting up and going and getting myself ready and getting to the office, I felt like I was far more successful. I will tell you, and I'll be very honest, this year I've changed my habit where I actually do something for myself in the mornings. So I get up and I know there's this you know, you lead generate for a couple of hours every morning. Well, I lead generate very differently. I lead generate by being on boards and active in my community. And also I go to the gym. So that's something for me. But even adding to what Cody is saying, I'm always talking about real estate as when it's appropriate and comes into the conversation, I don't hesitate to talk about it. So people know when I'm out and about that I'm a realtor, but at the same time, I'm doing something for myself. I'm actually lead genning, and yet then I go from there to the office, and I'm usually at the office about 10 a.m. And then I'm in the office a good portion of the day.
Okay. You brought up something I wanted to touch on about being in the office, and then about how we can pivot into the times we're experiencing right now. So you reminded me of what we have a lot of sayings at Keller Williams. We call them Kellerisms. Well, there's just so much to learn in real estate in general, all the different words, but then at Keller Williams we have a ton of, and we have these sayings that we kind of go by. And you know, one in particular is that people grow into the conversations you have around them, right? So you went into the office as a new agent, you heard what Andy was talking about, or what he was on the phone with his clients talking about, and you just learned that way. Well, okay, so how can we do that now when we're doing all of our meetings and trainings virtually? Well, as a new agent, because I know that there are a couple new agents on the call right now, it is being on our virtual training, right? So being present for the 9 a.m. morning huddles that we have, where we get, you know, started in the morning, like script practicing. We have 4 o'clock town hall meetings. We have our Tuesday team meetings. We have group coaching sessions. They're all on these Zoom calls, right? And so, you know, I think that because we all got out of the habit of going to the office, maybe some people aren't calling in, right? Well, if you call in, even if you have to put yourself on mute and just listen, you will learn just by hearing other people talk, right? So I think that's just super important, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I mean, let's go there. We're in a very different spot right now, and this is our new normal for a little bit here. And how is this COVID-19 affecting your business? And what would you tell these agents that are, or these people, they're not agents yet, the people on the call that are thinking about getting into real estate? You know, we said a word a couple of times that they may not know what it means, and we said the word shift a couple of times. So Tina, maybe you could talk a bit about how COVID-19 is affecting the real estate market and what shift means and what these people need to understand about getting into real estate.
So obviously, you know, I would say, you know, COVID-19 has affected the real estate market for sure, as it has every business. There's no doubt about that. The one thing that I appreciate about, I think, real estate and, you know, in particular Keller Williams, is how quickly we've been able to adapt and change and do everything that we can to keep it going. You know, we didn't just kind of panic and say, throw our hands up in the air and say, okay, we'll wait for it to change. You know, we've decided to put some things into place. You know, when it comes to open houses, trying to do them virtually, you know, showings and all the different ideas that are coming from all the realtors at KW of how we're doing showings now. So, you know, while it has shifted, I think it really just kind of dials into more where we need to hone in on our skills more when it comes to one of the habits that I was going to say that I think, you know, each new agent should get into is really script practicing. I think that is just so vital. And, you know, that's just, we've really gone back to script practicing and really dialing in on our skills because I think now, you know, we have to do, you know, double what we were doing before, which is fine. But I think, you know, while it's affected it, I think we all know that it's going to come back. And so right now we're just preparing. We're still making our care calls to our clients and to our sphere. We're still making our just listed, just sold calls. We're still doing those. You know, we may not be running as many appointments that we have been in the past, but we're still getting in touch with our database, building our pipeline for the future once we are ready to go back into the market. So it's a shift, which is fine, but you know, markets shift all the time, and it's being adaptable and being able to pivot with the shift, and you know, and just keep business going and making adjustments as you need to.
Yeah, definitely. And you said a word there that well, that's one of the questions is you said the word database. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that when you are getting into real estate, your database is everything, right? So if you don't have a database, we call it sometimes a data bank. If you don't have anybody in that database, you're not going to make any money. If you don't have a lead, you don't have any business. So I'd love it if you guys could talk about that importance of having a database and what can everyone, you know, as they're starting to study to get into real estate, how can they be working on that database before they even have their license?
I think you need to, I always say you need to feed your database like it's a living human creature that depends on leads and contacts to survive. So you really need to, if you're new or thinking about getting, even if you're thinking about getting into real estate, now's the time to just start putting together your database. And, you know, people are, you know, they'll say, oh, I only know a couple people. You know, lots of people, you know, your hairstylist, your nail tech, your car guy. I mean, that's all your database. And so really dialing into every single person that you're connected to one way or another in your life, that is where you can start building your database from.
You know, and you can add to that, you know, there's some things like, for example, when I left the business I was in, I really thought I had this gold mine of a database, which was a corporate office. And I realized rather quickly that although there were a lot of people there, I knew what my lifestyle was inside that building, and I never had time to pick up my phone. So they're not picking up their phone when I'm calling them. So I had to also get creative, and I literally had to build it from basically ground zero. So I started doing things, in my community, because I hadn't been involved in my community. And I felt like, my gosh, I really felt like I had missed out. I think if I could do it all over again, I would get involved in Optimist Club or the Chamber of Commerce, and things that, you know, support where you live. And that can also be a springboard to building a database. And so, you know, getting involved in things you are passionate about. It's important that you're getting involved and you're there for yourself and you're not there for real estate, but it becomes organic in that they get to know you and they know who you are, and then they realize you're in real estate, and then they have a friend of a friend who needs, you know, to buy a house or sell a house, and that's how you get referrals. Because my database, like I said, I thought I had one, and then I looked at, you know, the fact that you know, everybody that's at corporate, they all have homes, they're not going anywhere. So again, I looked at, okay, how could I build a database from like nothing? And, you know, to Tina's point, you just have to stop and think about who all you know. And then if the list isn't that long, okay, well, how can I get myself involved in my community and build it from there?
Yeah, I think personally the database has been the most important thing for my business starting. And I think new agents, especially, even if it's before they start studying, start an Excel spreadsheet. Put everyone in there, get their address, get their email, get their phone number. So you have something. So when you start your training, you actually have something to work off of. You're not learning new and then trying to build a database. So my advice to anyone starting out is, even if you think you're going to do it, just start collecting all of your database information. And then you're going to start to think of more and more people. And then once you get licensed and you start the training and people start talking about things like the 135 or the 414 or some of these colorisms or, you know, care calls, you actually have real live people to use instead of doubling your work up at that point. So for me, having that database before I even started was crucial.
Yeah, it's super important to have a database day one. I would agree 100%. And I will just say, just from my experience, I came from corporate. I was in financial services I was at a company for 11 years, and the very first thing I did when I joined Keller Williams is I joined a team, and I was very purposeful in contacting everyone I knew, everyone in my sphere, right? So everyone that I worked with at my past company, and every profession that touched that, I was just very intentional about telling them. Cody mentioned this before, you can't be a secret agent when you're new. You have to tell people what you do. We joke about this sometimes, but you even have to tell your family members and your friends, and you have to tell them many times. I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories about new agents they came in my office in tears, like, oh my God, my cousin, my friend, my best friend, you know, they use someone else, and I'm like, well, have you talked to them in a month? Well, they know I'm in real estate. Well, no, they don't. You know, you have to keep telling people and keep reminding people. And so it was super important. And that is what made me very successful my first year was, you know, making sure that I was telling everybody and telling them over and over and over again. But it wasn't just telling them, it was offering, you know, things of value, like how could I help them in their business? And so I would be having these meetings or these coffee meetings with people, and I never left a meeting without saying, well, who do you know that I should know? That was one question. Every person, because that is another person I can meet with and another person that I can add to my database. So I never left without asking that question, and I never left the meeting without asking, how can I help you in your business? So those two questions when you're brand new and you're working on your database are crucial. Who do you know that I should know? And how can I help you in your business? And I will tell you, those two questions will take you all so very far. And that's why your database is so important. So I know that we're, coming up, we have about 5 more minutes before I would love to open it up to people that have questions for all of you. But I wanted to make sure that I got to a couple of really important points. One, And okay, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly, everyone. There is a scary statistic that the National Association of Realtors has put out there, and I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention it. The statistic is that 85% of new agents are out of the business after the first 18 months. It's reality. I think it's because people get into real estate for three things. Well, one, because maybe they just love HGTV, and that's not what real estate is. Two, they're getting into real estate for the freedom, the flexibility, and to make money. And when you're a career changer, sometimes you get that freedom and flexibility down real well, but you don't make any dang money because you don't go into the office. You don't work your database. You don't realize that you have to go out and get your business. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, panelists, why do you think that 85% of new agents are out of the business in that first 18 months, just from what you've gleaned over the years, and from Cody, from even from when you started?
I'll weigh in, being the newbie on this. I think people don't plan properly. And what I mean by that is saving up 6 months of your income and setting that aside as a rainy day fund. And 6 months seems like a long time, but if you can't diligently save 6 months of income, then when you get into the business, if you hit a shift like COVID or something else comes up and you don't have the skill set already in place to save, then you're going to be in a world of hurt. So I think 6 months of income to prepare yourself for maybe the income as you're starting is really important. Getting that database. But I think probably the number one reason I think is because there isn't immediate gratification. And I think when you make a career change, you are looking for something like instant gratification, and it doesn't come financially right away. So you have to keep trying, and you have to keep working at it, and you have to have grit. And so I think that, coupled with the pressure of maybe not getting a paycheck at first. So to not be a statistic, I think to really prepare with some income saved up will help. Because you don't get so stressed out about that. You can get out there and just work your contacts.
I love it.
You can't give up. You have to be very disciplined at doing the work. And, even though, and you're not going to have, to your point, you're not going to have instant gratification, but it's like what the work you do now, we often talk about this at the office, will show up in 90 days. So what you're putting in now in building relationships and people realizing that you're getting in the business, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, they're calling you because they want to go see a home. And then you start to think about, okay, now you're showing them homes, they write an offer, you get through the process, it's almost 90 days later. So, I think a lot of people don't understand it takes time to see results. And so you have to be disciplined to do the work. And that's difficult for some, because I think, Jen, your point about the flexibility, a lot of people think that's, it's what you make of it. And I think just showing up, again, I go back to, I remember when, there's another agent that started around the same time and was on the same team with Jen and I. And, we used to laugh that, we'd go to Starbucks twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And now it's to the point where it's like, we don't have time to go to Starbucks. And, it was kind of like, well, those were the days. Well, some of it was, we didn't know what we were doing. And so, you do your lead gen, and then it's like, okay, now what do we do? And so what I started doing as a new agent is I would put my hand up and say, I'll go show properties for somebody. I'll go to do a home inspection, because I wanted the experience, and I knew I wasn't getting paid, but then I knew when I did get a client and I would have a home inspection, I would know how to handle it. So there are, that's the other thing is, putting yourself out there and offering up your time, which will allow you to get experience. And so I just say it's doing the work. Yeah.
How about you, Tina? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I think, real estate is one of those things that you get out of it what you put into it, right? So that's what I love about it so much. There's no ceiling. Like you work really hard and it's really going to pay off. And I think, you know, what I see a lot of times is that people get caught up in the freedom because there's nobody directing you, nobody leading you. And so if it's a nice day outside, it's like, well, let's just maybe enjoy the nice day. Or if it's a yucky day outside, let's just, you know, huddle in and Netflix and chill. But, you know, you're not getting paid for those days. And I always attribute it to, you know, it's a business. So if you open up a storefront, you're going to want to have your storefront open all day long, 7 days a week, right? Because you're going to want to have people come into your storefront and buy your goods. And that's the same way that I look at real estate, is that I've opened up a business. I don't have a storefront, but I've got to be working it every single day in order for it to be successful, because I don't want to close the doors of my business like the statistics show. When I started in real estate, we had the largest class that started Shore West at that time. I think there was 26 agents, and there's actually only 4 agents still in business from that class, and they are all at KW, which I think is really interesting. So, but I think it's just being able to self-manage is where I see a lot of people get in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so very true. So before I open it up for the participants to ask you all questions, I would love for you to end my questions by, talking a little bit about what you wish you would have known back when you started your real estate career. What do you wish you would have known? What do you wish someone would have told you? What do you wish you would have done more research on? All of the above, any of the above.
I wish I would have known that it was a business and not a job. I think there's a huge difference between the two things. And I wish I would have had somebody who would have led me to start treating it like a business and not just a job, because that makes a huge difference. And would have, could have, I could be leaps and bounds ahead of myself where I am now, because I'm, have just started in the past couple of years treating it like a business.
I think, and having it like a business, I think too, you have to know where you're going to spend your money. And I will tell you, boy, I got so many interesting calls where my face could be on a shopping cart for X number of dollars a month, and I could buy leads from this particular, company, Zillow. I will not say any names, but there are things that people will come at you, and you think, because I will be one that I raise my hand, that is the magic bullet that's going to give you business. And I very, very strongly caution you not to go there. Do the work as far as work your sphere, we call it a farm, so that could be your neighborhood, in getting your neighborhood addresses. And so you would actually send them something every, first week for a period of time, and then you move to a month. But point there is, once your name gets out there, you will get so many phone calls trying to sell you something that will help you in your business, or put your face on a publication that is, your community. And I wish I would have. It's not that I didn't know that. I got caught up in a little bit. And I think if I would have had a budget set aside that this is what my marketing number was, I would have been in a better place. Obviously, I'm there now, but my first year and a half, I felt like I was a ping pong ball and I was everywhere. And that was a learning curve. And we all have them. Yeah. If you're going to fail forward and fail fast, because you want to keep moving.
Right. Yeah. How about Cody, from your perspective, being new?
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't realize how many solicitations I would get. I was like, I'm so popular. Everyone had the best news for me. Just wait, you're going to get 30 leads a month for like $700 a week. No big deal. What would I have wished someone would have told me? I thought about this question, and I heard it because I attended the career night, of course, but it's not HGTV. You're going to see houses that make you shudder. You're going to work with flyers that make you cringe. you're going to work with other agents that you think, how are they still in the business? But at the end of the day, you just have to be authentically yourself, because if you try to be like someone else who's successful, or you try to do something online or social media or this or that, because there's so much coming at you, you just are spinning. So pick a lane, stay in it. Once you feel like you've mastered it, and then start to branch out. But so much comes at you in such a short amount of time that, yeah, I think I needed blinders on a little bit more before I felt like, okay, I have it figured out a little bit. And I don't know if I do, but.
Well, one of the reasons why I always have a newer agent on the panel is so that you can give this perspective. Advice to all of you, once you get your license, like the day after, you got to stop telling everybody you're new, because that's something that's going to hold you back. I'm saying new, but I'm using it loosely. Once you have your license and it's been a day, you're not new anymore. Just some piece of advice. But I'd like you, Cody, you are one of the few people, I mean, we have a couple each year that, blow through their first 5 transactions, which is this launch program, which we're going to talk about after this, after the question segment. But you blew through that very quickly. Like I said, you're about to graduate tomorrow, your first 5 deals within your first few months. What do you attribute that early success to?
Talking to people I know, being diligent about it. If that meant Facebook messaging people that I knew, that's how they preferred to communicate, talking to people, going into the office. I also tried to connect with people a little bit before, so I had some things in the pipeline. So I knew of some people who I could, work with, whether they were buyers or I had a listing. So building your pipeline ahead of time, I think that's why I was successful, because I had done a lot of research leading up into it. So I think that's what helped. Also, I'm chatty and I talk about it, and I want to help people find a good house. And so I'm just driven and kind of never stop. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. So
that's great. So I'd love to open it up, to participants. If you want to unmute yourself, please. Like I said, any questions? You have some great minds here that you can pick here. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. If you would rather ask it in the group chat and you want me to say it out loud, you can do that as well. Give it a minute. No questions? That's insane. And okay, do you have a question in here about what's the initial cost for someone looking to get into real estate? And we will talk about that in this last segment about what pre-licensing looks like. We'll talk about what the cost of the course is, how much the exam is, things like that. We'll talk about, board dues, which is something some people really don't understand, and how we're going to run this like a business, meaning you're going to have monthly expenses whether you're selling or not. So we're going to talk about that as well. I have a question. How many agents do it as a second career? So Howard, I'm guessing you mean as like a dual career. Is that right? How many people do? Yeah. Okay. So we actually have a lot of dual career agents at Keller Williams. In our launch program, we have about 30 agents that are in this new program right now, that means that they're in their first 5 transactions, and the majority of them are dual career. I will say that, and I want you, the panelists, to jump in here. It is a necessity for some people to start as dual career. I will also say that it is very hard to get your business off the ground, and if you're not focusing on real estate as your sole career. Now, I'm not saying it cannot be done. We have some amazing people, dual career agents, that really have done well. I'm just saying it's not easy. And so we've gotten away a little bit from hiring from people that have 9 to 5, the traditional 9 to 5 jobs, and they think that they can do real estate on nights and weekends. It is very difficult to do real estate on nights and weekends because real estate happens during the day. Lenders are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. The title companies are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And so if you have another career, another job during the day, and it's not flexible and you can't pick up the phone because one of your transactions is about to fall apart, it's just really, really difficult to make that work. But I am telling you, a lot of people do make it work. It's just very difficult. Also, all of our training happens in the office Monday through Friday during the day. So if you can't attend trainings, that's another reason why some people find it hard to really launch into their career. Anybody else have a thought on the panel about what it's like to do a dual career?
Well, I can say, so my husband did it as a dual career just the last half of 2019. And it was difficult for him. It's hard to manage. And I think a lot of people think that, realtors are only showing houses on nights and weekends. And I think that was the thing that almost surprised me too, but there's a lot of people who have really flexible schedules. So you show a lot of homes during the day as well. I had a lot of people say, why would you want to be a realtor? All your nights and weekends are going to be filled. And it's like, well, that actually isn't the case. Obviously sometimes we do, but it's not it's not all the time. So that's where my husband struggled a lot because he would have clients that would want to see houses during the day and he wasn't available, or they wanted to have conversations. So while it was doable, but it was doable also because I was helping manage a lot of that, for him as well. I know that it is difficult and it's something that, if you really want real estate to be your main career, you have to do 100% of the work 100% of the time. And I think that goes back to what Cody said, really trying to save that 6 months so that you can set yourself up for success. Because the worst thing would be to get into it part-time and only be able to, if you work part-time, you're only going to get part-time results. That's where I go back to saying you get out of it what you put into it. So if you have the ability to save and give yourself a little nest egg, and then really get in and work it hard, you'll see the success pay off. You will. And that will help, eliminate that second career.
Yeah. We have a question here that says, can you use the Keller Williams training to branch off into other areas of business? For example, extensions around real estate. And I'm guessing, Shannon, you mean maybe like, rental properties or investment properties or things like that. Is that what you mean, Shannon? Yes. Okay. Does anybody want to take a stab at that? Even CJ, if you want to unmute, you can also feel free to jump in there as well. Anybody?
I don't do anything but real estate. So, I don't really dabble in rentals or anything like that. I just, I'm a firm believer is like, just stay in one lane and be really good in that lane. Spreading myself thin is just not something that I want to do because I have a life and kids and all those other things too. So I really don't, I stick to real estate. That's it. So
and I'll say too, Keller Williams is, we do residential real estate. So a lot of people say, hey, can I come to Keller Williams? Can I do commercial? Can I do this? And I will say we have a lot, I just put it out there. We do have a lot of agents that have multiple businesses. At Keller Williams, we teach you how to run your business like a business, and a lot of us have multiple businesses. I just focus on residential real estate like Tina. However, we do have agents that are successful landlords. They have rental properties, or they're helping, maybe they flip homes as their second job, So there are opportunities to do that. I just caution, one, no, we don't do commercial here at Keller Williams. That's not what we do. Even when people do go into commercial, they even specialize in different areas of commercial. But if you want to learn about real estate, you want to learn about investments, if you want to learn about, rentals and things like that, there are a ton of people that do it well, and you can learn from them. So that is a possibility. I just want to caution that, you know, if you do spread yourself too thin, especially when you're getting started, again, you're taking yourself away from building that core business. CJ, did you have something?
Yes. I apologize for my delay. I was being used as a shield in a Nerf fight.
Yes.
So I could speak to expanding into flipping homes and also possibly even looking to rental properties because I did do real estate full time as my focus for, I would say, 5 years, and then we started flipping homes. And actually, my real estate business actually took a dip in production, and then at the end of the year, when I was auditing myself, I was like, I say myself, but my wife was helping too. It was like, what happened? And it's literally your focus went to something else, and then something got, you know, put by the wayside. So then we started to still continue to do that, but I hired everything out, so then my margin shrank. Then we dipped into rental properties, which we now buy and hold. Again, that takes time because we are buying fixer-uppers. And then again, it's like, oh boy, we're flipping again. So there goes the profit margin if we were to flip and sell it. So instead, though, we elected to have somebody else always do all the work, other than show up for the inspection, and that still was distracting. But it did provide us, you know, with what I call the retirement plan. The other bad side to that, though, is that because you are a real estate, you have a license in real estate, you are held to a higher level when it comes to being a landlord. So when it comes to like the legal leases and so forth, like with this whole COVID-19, you're not supposed to evict anyone. Well, I'm sure there are like some people that are not real estate licensed. Well, actually, I do know some people that are evicting people. And legally, you're not supposed to do that. As a real estate agent, you go and pull something like that, there goes your license, which is your livelihood for your family. So again, you're held to a higher level, I guess is what I'm saying ultimately, and just don't lose your focus.
Yeah, absolutely. So Al, you had asked, once you start the training program to become an agent, can you participate in the training programs, calls and huddles that you have? And then you asked about Ignite. So we do have a program called Ignite that we hold a couple times a year, where it's 12 classes 3 times a week. Then it really does help ignite you in your business, and it really helps give you good practices around lead generation and just time blocking and things like that. We do have that a couple times a year. Yes, once you become an agent and you have your license, we have a ton of training that you can do. We do have a couple of calls and huddles again throughout the week right now, because everything for our office is virtual right now. So someone also asked, Sheila, you said, are you doing training right now for new agents during COVID? Well, yes, we're still doing training. It just looks a little bit different. Before, when Mark started, Sheila, it was Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. You had to be in our office for that launch orientation, and Cindy, who is our compliance broker, would teach about contracts. Well, it just looks a little different right now. We're asking their mentors to be the new people for their mentors to be a little bit more hands-on during this period. We're telling them they need to go and watch as many training videos as they possibly can. We're asking them to be on these morning huddles at 9 a.m. So that they can get used to that language. Our team meetings are still on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock. And then we have group coaching every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And so, yes, there's a ton of training that we still have when you're a newly licensed agent. It just looks a little bit different right now. Okay, and so the rest of these questions I think I can answer in this next, section, 15 minutes or so, when I talk about the expenses around office space. I know someone asked about that. So we will get to that when I talk about this new pre-licensing phase. If there's nothing else for the panelists, I want to thank you guys again, Cody, Tina, and Julia, for being on the panel, and thank you for CJ for offering your knowledge as well. If you guys want to hop off, you absolutely can, and then I will go over what the pre-licensing phase looks like for these individuals.
Okay.
Thanks, Jen.
Jen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen if I can figure out how to do that with all of you. Okay, so that I can bring up a couple of things here, and I will share my screen. Bear with me. Come on. Okay. So before we get here, I'm going to go from the beginning. And then I will do my best to toggle back and forth so that I can see if there are any, otherwise unmute yourself. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions, because I won't be able to see the chat comments as I'm going through this. So the very first thing that you have to do when you want to start your real estate career in Wisconsin is go through a 72-hour pre-licensing education course. Hold on, let me see if I can bring that up. Can you guys all see this on the screen right now? Okay. So the pre-licensing is 72 hours. We have a relationship with the Wisconsin Realtors Association, or the WRA, of course, where we can get you a discount if we order it on your behalf. And let me bring that up if I can get to it here. This does not mean that you work for Keller Williams. We are just sharing our discount with you because, again, we have a partnership with them. What it looks like, basically, if you were to go to the WRA's website, you could order the class on your own. But if you did the complete online course, which is right here, this A, they're on-demand videos. There's no book, but a PDF copy of the book comes up online, and so that you absolutely could print off a couple pages if you're kind of like me and you want to print out summary pages and highlight and take notes. You can do that. If you order it straight from them, it would be $335. We get you a $100 discount if you let us order it for you. I would say about 99% of the people pick that option. But I do have people that order the second one, B, where they actually want to get the book and have it be complete self-study. There's no video in that for that portion. So it is on your own, at your own pace, and then you can go online and do the chapter test. But that option is there for you. It's a little bit more expensive because they're shipping you your book. It's $265. Again, not a ton of people do it that way, but they do it that way. And it is available for you, is what I'm trying to say. So like I said, most people do it completely online. We do not have an in-person class at Keller Williams. We just utilize this program here. I do get questions from time to time about, hey, I really like to be in person. You know, are there in-person options? There are a couple of in-person options. There's a course through Robbins and Lloyd, which is a company that's on Highway 100 in Silver Spring. They have evening classes a couple days a week for 12 weeks. I don't know the cost. I think it's a couple $100 more, but I will just warn you, all of these in-person training anyway is just on hold for the next, I don't know, a little bit anyway before the COVID stuff is over. I just don't know what that's going to look like. So that's this part. Once you finish the 72-hour course, the next step is to take your exam. So the exam is taken at these Pearson VUE testing centers. The cost of the exam is $65. As I mentioned before, Sheila, she's on the call right now. She took her exam mid-March, I think March 19th or something like that. And right after she took it, they canceled the rest of the exams through the end of April for now. And I don't know if that's going to be extended. It really just is remains to be seen as what happens with this COVID-19. So for those that have been, finished their course, they're kind of just waiting until they get a message saying that they can go ahead and schedule their exam. That's $65. You do find out right away whether or not you pass or fail. Then once you're done with the pre-licensing course, that's 72 hours, and you've passed your exam, that does not make you a realtor just yet. You do have to apply to the state for your actual license. So that is through DSPS, which is short for the Department of Safety and Professional Services. So just as if you were a cosmetologist or you were a bartender or you have some other license, that you all have to apply for that license at the state. So that's $85 to apply for your license. So what happens is normally we'd say, you know, by the time you are ready to apply, most people know what brokerage they want to work for. We usually suggest that you have the brokerage submit your application on your behalf with that money for a couple reasons. One, they tend to work a little bit faster if they see a brokerage is attached to you. And two, then you don't have to pay the $10 transfer fee to transfer it from the state to the brokerage that you choose. So what happens is you fill out your application, we submit it on your behalf. Then the state takes that, they do their background check and whatever else that they do, they process it kind of as they come. So it can take 2 weeks for them to approve your license. Right now, when everything is kind of crazy right now, it might take a little bit longer. Last summer, like from I'd say July to September, it was a really busy time with people applying for their license. It was taking them about 4, 5, 6 weeks to grant licenses at one point. So, as you're going through this process, we just like to stay in touch with you so that we can talk about timing, because you need that license, you need that piece of paper before you can actually start to do any real estate activities. The next cost on this list is board dues. So in Wisconsin, if you're going to join Keller Williams, you have to be a member of the local board. Our local board here is GMAR for short, otherwise known as the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors. And you pay these dues every year. So again, running it like a business, you are going to have expenses, and you need to prepare yourself that you are going to be paying these dues every year. And this is no matter what brokerage you join. So it depends what your dues are going to cost you when you get started, depends on what month you get your license and join that brokerage. So I have another fee schedule here that I want to show you. I don't know, it's probably a little tough to see. And so basically what happens is, so for example, if you were all done with your course and you passed your exam and you got your license in the month of May, for example, and you wanted to join our brokerage, then you take May all the way to the right, and you would owe $942.25. Okay, you pay that all in one lump sum, no matter what brokerage you join. Okay, what happens is that then you're good for the year 2020. Then you need to keep in mind that you're going to have to pay dues again at the end of the year for the year 2021. So all of us agents in Wisconsin, we all get our invoices around that October timeframe, and then they're just due by the end of December. And then they give you, if you pay them before November or, 1st, you get $25 off or something like that. But just keep that in mind, because all of you will likely be getting your license in a couple of months, meaning you'll have to pay $900 in a couple months, and then you'll have to pay another 900 something by the end of the year. So this is a piece that I share in every meeting that I have with new agents, because when I don't have this, when I don't bring this up, or someone comes to me as a referral from someone, this is a piece that people like to leave out, and then they're real shocked when they have to come up with $1,000 for dues, and then they don't realize that then they have to pay the dues again at the end of the year, and then every year thereafter. So I just wanted to bring this up. When I go back here, I want to make mention number 4. Every 2 years, we all have to do continuing education, which is 18 credits or 6 classes. No matter when you get your license, we're all on the same schedule. So if you all get your license in even all the way up to October 1st, so if you even got your license in September of this year, you are still going to have to do 18 credits of continuing education by December 14th this year, okay? And then again, we'll all be due again in December 2022. So we're all on the same schedule. You only don't have to do it this year if you get your license in October. Then you're exempt, and then you'll have to do them for December 2022. I think you can do this all online with video, just like you're about to do with the pre-licensing class. And I believe for all 6 classes this year, it's like $126 or something like that. So all of these costs that I just outlined are your costs to getting started, and it has nothing to do with what brokerage you decide to join. So I just wanted to make that clear. Then depending on what brokerage you join, then there's going to be office invoices and other expenses, different types of splits. And that is, those are questions that I would be happy to answer maybe in a follow-up, because I don't want to take too much time, but I want to make sure that I bring up your chat here to see if we have any other questions. Otherwise, like I said, please unmute yourself. Okay. So someone did ask about the expenses involved in your office space, your desk, and things like that. Again, as a new agent, I always say lead with revenue. That's something you'll hear us say a lot when we're trying to teach you how to run it like a business. So you do not have to pay for an office at Keller Williams. We have plenty of free cubicle space and open collaboration space that you can sit for free, and I suggest doing that. You do need to have your own laptop and smartphone, because we are a paperless company and everything that we do is online. We're very technologically advanced at Keller Williams, so you just have to be rearing ready to go on the technology side. So, but there's no expense per se in desk and office space. In our office, there are offices and cubicles that people do pay for, and that is once you start to get into production. So we have offices that people rent and pay additional money on their monthly invoice, and that's because they do so much in business and it makes sense for them. We do have a couple people that pay $50 a month to rent a cubicle, and it's because they want to keep their things, their personal items in that cubicle, and that's just something they've chosen to do. Again, of course, that's something they can write off, but that's just something to keep in mind. I do want to bring up something, what does it mean then when you join Keller Williams? What does it look like as a new agent? So all new agents are auto-enrolled. Every newly licensed agent has to be part of our launch program, okay? And this is what sets us apart. So a lot of us talked in the panel question time about the importance of having a good mentor and good training. And so this is truly what does set us apart, and this is what gets you into production quickly. So the very first thing that happens when you're newly licensed is you have that first month that you're with us, you have something called a launch orientation. And what it's supposed to look like, and hopefully by the time you are all licensed and join us, hopefully we'll be back to this, is every Tuesday and Thursday for your first month, you come to this launch orientation, just like any other business, any other company you would join. They all have a company orientation, right? Well, this is where you are going to learn, who's who in the office, everything that you need to know about Keller Williams. You get contract training with the compliance broker. You get, training on buyer and listing presentations. It's a very, very important piece, and your technology orientations, of course. A very important piece to get you started. You also get a launch coach, and this person has weekly group coaching sessions. So right there, for the last 6 months, they've been every Tuesday, from 1 to 2. And this is to help you get into production, to talk to others that are in the same program, the same spot as you, share ideas, share struggles, share success stories. That's what happens at these weekly group coaching sessions. We have a topic every week. And so, for example, yesterday's group topics, Julia Kellogg, who was on the panel tonight, she was the one teaching it. And she was explaining about how important it is to have really good communication with the other agent on the other side of the deal and what that looks like. And so that it was a fabulous presentation. So the launch coach for our market center, her name is Kathy. She hosts these group coaching sessions, and then she has guest speakers come in. She does goal setting with you and holds you accountable, and you're in this program for your first 5 transactions. So we expect you to be at these group coaching sessions until you graduate, okay? And another really great piece of this program is you get your own mentor. And this mentor is your person. This person is going to review your first 5 contracts. They're going to make sure that you didn't miss a contingency, make you feel more confident that you are explaining something correctly to your buyer or your seller. They're helping you to get shadow opportunities, shadowing an open house, shadowing a buyer presentation or a listing presentation, or just shadowing every step along the way. There's just so many things, home inspection, so that you can learn. And then, in this program, it's really important that you role play, that you script practice. They talked a little bit about that earlier. It's just a safe place to practice what you're going to say out there in the field. So this is what our program looks like. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm going to go back here and see if I have any questions. Okay, so Howard asked if we are an agent of Keller Williams or we are our own business. Okay, good question. You would be, if you decide that Keller Williams is the brokerage for you, then you are an independent contractor and you're setting up your own business, and Keller Williams is backing you up and giving you all of the resources, the models, and the systems for you to be successful. So that you would be a Keller Williams agent, but we want you to run your business and we want you to sell yourself. So we would want our signs look a little bit different out there versus a Shore West or a First Weber, those traditional brokerages, because they're teaching you how to sell real estate and they're teaching you how to sell those companies. Keller Williams is a little bit different. It's just a different business model. Again, all these are great, great companies. You just have to figure out who you would be best aligned with. Keller Williams is different, where they're interdependent. You do well, we do well. We're wanting you to sell yourself. So all of our signs look a little bit different, and that's good. That's okay. It's your phone number on the sign. And so if you have a listing, your phone number's on there. If someone drives by and calls, you know everything about that house. Where sometimes, you pass a Shore West sign or a First Weber sign, it goes to their office, and then they have to either find the agent or whoever's on floor duty that day may get that lead, or they try to sell that lead to them. It works a little bit differently. So again, it's just a different model of business, and you just have to figure out what's best for you. But you would be an agent of Keller Williams and running your own business. Any other questions? Was this helpful? I can't hear anybody.
Definitely very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
This is Howard. I have no more questions, but it was very, very helpful.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I would love if you want to follow up with me after this, and please, my email is jenmitchell@kw.com. I would be happy to email you these 3 documents: the cost of getting started in real estate, the Realtor GMAR dues breakdown, and the pre-licensing education a sign-up sheet, if you will. I would be happy to email those to you. I'd be happy to answer any further questions you have. you know, it's just a forum like this is really just helpful for us that we can get as many people on as possible. Our in-person career nights are just so wonderful. They've been really great since we added this panel style. We started this panel style career night back in June or July of last year, and it's been very well received because I have different panelists every month, and they're all just able to share their experiences, and you just get a different flair of you know, how you can run your business, how you want to run your business, and we all do it very, very differently. And so it's just a great way to share that. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to send you all of these materials that we talked about. And then if and when you are ready to order the course, please let me know. I will collect that information from you and make sure that we order the course on your behalf. And then we would just stay in touch throughout your studying process and go from there. Is that it? Okay, hold on, let me go back to the, make sure I don't have any other chat. Jen Mitchell at KW, that is correct, Howard, thank you. So Jen Mitchell at KW.com, Jen with one N. I do get that a lot. Jen with one N, JenMitchell at KW.com. Perfect. Okay, well, thank you all for taking your time this evening to be on the call, and I will be in touch with all of you, and make it a great night and stay healthy. Take care.